Hi, this is Robin Weeks, speaking for Life, the Basic Manual, and addressing the question of why is landscape sacred, or what makes a landscape sacred? What makes nature sacred is the same question for me. And my answer to it is, I think we're coming at it from the wrong direction, because we're suggesting that there's a normal mode of being, and then we could shift our being into seeing something as being sacred. And the fact is, I think the normal mode of being would be to see things as being sacred. And what we do, we actually put ourselves to sleep in a way. Collectively, in our culture, in our society, we put ourselves to sleep in a particular kind of way. That means we don't perceive that anymore. And I believe there was a time when people did perceive that. Indigenous people, for example, would perceive the landscape as sacred. And when I say perception, I really mean that. They actually see it, feel it that way. So we've actually lost something over the years. And so the question is, why have we lost the perception of the sacred? It's not really a question of why is a landscape sacred? It's like the question is, why isn't a landscape sacred for me? And for me, what I see is that along with the scientific revolution 400 or so years ago, a set of beliefs slowly became concretized in our culture, a set of beliefs and thoughts that we all have that we're not very conscious of, that actually separate us from nature. We believe we are separate from nature. And so we perceive it, we tend to perceive nature as beautiful, yes, but also as material, as a set of objects that really don't possess those things that you would, that you might call life, or beingness, or sacredness. And those, for me, those beliefs are, there are several of them, and they can be broken down in different ways. But one of the first ones that comes from Descartes is that we are special. We're separate. We're located inside this head and body, and that we have something that nature doesn't have. We have consciousness, and out there, there's materiality. And that's called Cartesian dualism, and it's what mainstream science believes today, and we've all taken that particular belief on, right? So, and yet, there is no scientific evidence for that belief. That's not a scientifically based belief. It's a belief that you adopt in order to do science in the first place. You have to be objective. You objectify things in order to do science. So undoing that would be a belief that consciousness isn't simply located right here. It's located everywhere in nature. The trees have consciousness. The rocks even have consciousness out there. And that, for me, as a thought, as I walk out in nature, changes how nature appears to me. If I think that consciousness is everywhere and not located simply in me, then I have a different relationship with the land, and I start to perceive it in a different way. And there are a number of other beliefs that perhaps we should talk about in another video. But I want to say that the latest neuroscience, and even top neuroscientists studying consciousness, are now saying that they think consciousness is everywhere. So it's not just me saying this. There's actually very good scientists who are starting to think that they can't explain how consciousness arises in the brain, and they can only explain it by the fact that everything must be conscious. So if you take a hike, for example, especially in Sedona, and think that the land around you is conscious and alive, then you start to have a different relationship with it, and you might start to believe it's sacred. But there are some other beliefs that you might have to undo on the way to that actual perception. Thank you.